In my story, The Wise Man of the Halawaya, the main character, Papina, has a deep desire to return back to her native land after years of being away. I was able to connect with Simone Wright, who has a company called Parting the Roots, which works to educate and engage the public by sharing the history, politics, and art behind black hair. And what I didn't realize was that she had recently returned from a trip from Ghana, trying to get in touch with her own ancestral roots. A parallel of Simone's experience echoed that of our character in the story and gave real-life context for us to consider. So with that, here is the Real Inspiration discussion with Simone Wright. The story, The Wise Man of the Halawaya, the one you watched, right?
Yes.
There's many different layers to it, but
hmm
the one I wanted to talk to you about was like roots and home.
Oh my goodness. And I don't know if Everton told you this, but I went to Ghana for the first time ever. I went with my mom, my aunt, and my aunt's husband. The
Hmm.
four of us went. It was our first time ever touching foot on the motherland. And,
Wow.
yeah, it was a very, very emotional, life-changing experience.
How so?
Um, Well, just being someone who is a descendant of slavery, like, yes, we're Jamaican, we have our Jamaican roots and culture and, traditions, but that's so new. Like, it's just like 400 years old. It's a
Hmm.
Frankenstein culture of African, Indian, British, Chinese, Syrian. Like, it's just like a melting pot of cultures, which
Hmm.
I appreciate and I love. But like for my family and I, we've always had that, like longing of wanting to know where are we from? Like what tribe are we from? Like what is our language? What is our African name? We got adopted from a tribe, the Bonre tribe. Within they're part of the Ashanti kingdom. My mom and aunt and my aunt's husband, like everyone who would like look at them, they're like, yes, you are Asante. They would look at me and they're like, we can't place you.
Hmm.
So, and it's like everyone's, they're like, we can't place you. Like, we don't know what tribe you're from. My dad, he is mixed. So maybe it's my dad's, like
Yeah,
ancestry is like blurring
yeah,
things.
yeah.
So yes, I will say that I am half Ashanti, but I don't know what the other half is.
Mm.
It brought that sense of like belonging. So my mom, she has always felt like she's a generic person. Like, yes, as I said, we love our Jamaican roots and heritage, but like within my family, we've always just wanted to like know more about like where we come from.
Mm.
So yeah, so this trip was pretty much it was an opportunity for us to connect with our roots
Hmm.
and just touch foot on the place where our ancestors are from.
Hmm.
So obviously we went to the slave dungeon. So for me and my mom, it was more of an angering experience. For my aunt, it was very sad. Like she was pretty much crying throughout the entire time. My mom and I, we were just like angry.
Is
Just
it I guess there's an energy you feel.
you feel the energy, but also too, just like seeing like where our ancestors were like living for up to 3 months and the conditions and hearing what was, being done to them there and knowing that there was an actual church either on top of the slave dungeons or, in the middle of the slave castle. And, like these religions condoning this and profiting off of it,
Yeah.
you know?
Hmm.
So, like, already I'm like getting emotional from it. Like for me, how I express myself, it's like through anger and like rage. And I was just like, I can't believe like for centuries, people were okay with this. They were okay with, treating our people worse than animals because they treat their animals better than how they treated us.
Hmm.
And the things that I see that's happening today in Palestine, in Congo, in Sudan, it really angers me because I know what happened to my ancestors, and I don't even know everything that happened, but I know a lot to know that I wouldn't want for that to happen to anyone else, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Are we missing something? Not again, just generally, if you don't have that sense of your home, of where you belong, what are you missing?
for me personally,
Hmm.
what was missing?
Or what have you gained? I could even say.
Okay, so for me, what I've gained is that sense of like connection. Um, I I love my Jamaican heritage, but being on the continent, it was just that feeling of this is where it all started for
Hmm.
me and my family, for me and my ancestors. And just being able to feel that energy by me just talking to the water, by me like touching the walls in the slave castles, communicating with the ancestors. It was just for me to just have that sense of like being rooted, you know,
Hmm.
like literally just stepping on, retracing the steps of the ancestors.
When it's stripped away from you, your land is stripped away from you, and you're disconnected from your people or the people that you consider home, what does that do to like the next generation?
Disassociated, they're just disconnected. And I think that's what has happened to people like me and, people within my generation. Because, like, within my Black friends, again, who were descendants of slavery, because we're just like just so, disassociated, disconnected from Africa, we're just I guess I don't want to say that it's conditioned, but all we know is Jamaica, or all we know is like whatever Caribbean island that we're from. So that's home for a lot of us. It is still home for me, but I know that there is like another home that's out there.
Hmm.
And to your point, people, I don't think they're curious enough. Maybe they don't care, but there's not enough people who are taking the time and the energy to educate themselves. And that is through reading, understanding history, knowing what happened to our people, knowing where we're from. So if you don't have that sense of like curiosity, then yeah, people they're not gonna like make the effort to, do the trip that I did with my family. Maybe, the Caribbean or the US is or Canada is just enough for them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people they just don't know how it's relevant because you get into the flow of your own day to day and it's so separate from what your day to day is. So you don't, I guess, realize how it is affecting your day to day.
Hmm,
I mean, I
hmm.
think so it has awareness of knowing that having that connection, how do you think it's shifted your future? I guess you can say, if at all.
Well, I said this to my friends when I got back from the trip. I said that this trip has radicalized me even more. So I am someone who you can call an activist, an advocate. I'm just someone who is all for freedom, justice, and liberation for all. So again, like me going to Ghana, experiencing the slave dungeons, seeing the impact of, you know, colonization, Western imperialism, white supremacy, et cetera, et cetera. Like we saw the impact of those negative systems in Ghana from the different refugees that we saw, you know, with all of the genocides that's happening in Sudan, Congo, the um, government political instability in Niger, Burkina Faso, like all those people, they're fleeing those countries and they're going to places like Ghana. So we saw a lot of, like refugees like living on the streets.
Mm.
So that was something that was very eye-opening for me and my family because we've never seen that level of poverty before. Like we literally like drove through like refugee camps.
Mm,
And for me, experiencing that firsthand because news is not reporting on it, you know, if you're not within a circle of people who is aware of like all of the atrocities and injustices that's happening around the world, you're not going to know.
mm,
But for some of my friends who are within this space, like we know that this stuff is going on by just like seeing things on social media or listening to podcasts. But like I saw it firsthand, that impact. So me being there, it just made me want to fight more to, like advocate, educate, bring awareness to people. Like, this is what's happening in these places.
mm.
And a lot of what's happening is due to us in the West with our overconsumption of, clothing, electronics that we're buying, you know? Um, it's just made me even more aware, made me more of a radical and really want to fight for change.
You do that a lot because through your fashion.
Oh, so my company name is Parting the Roots. So it's a platform based on addressing hair discrimination within the Black community through education and healing. We shouldn't have to be, not promoted for a job because of our hairstyle or, be told that we shouldn't be wearing a certain hairstyle because it's not deemed professional. Our hair
Mhm,
is not a skill set.
mhm.
It's not going to prevent us from doing a good job. So for me, I'm all about education and awareness and just letting people know, the biases that they have and how to spot them because these biases, they can have very harmful, impact on people's livelihoods.
My final question will be, what happens when you go home? Like in the story Pepina, she goes home and home isn't home anymore. Like they've
Mm-hmm.
built a resort. What happens when people come to your home, like, and you no longer have your home, you know? But the people who are there aren't necessarily to blame. Like, I mean, they just live there now, you know? How do we come to terms with that, with the people that are now, you know, there? This is my home and now you're here, you know? Like, how do we address them and how do we,
That is a really, really tough question because I'm just thinking of this physical home that I'm in right now. And if someone were to like take it over and for me to come back and it's like not how it was
yeah.
when, I used to live here, it's heartbreaking. It's very heartbreaking. And even for, people like my mom who go back to Jamaica and like they're seeing all these, like resorts, like literally the same thing within Pepina's story. Like you have all these foreigners coming and like taking over. And again, we saw that in Ghana. Like I didn't know what it looked like before, but you see, especially with like all the foreign companies coming in to mine and everything, destroying the land,
Hmm.
it is very heartbreaking. And like this is something that I always say to my friends and my family, and that is like we really need to start mobilizing as a people and come together in community. Like it's not just the Black Caribbeans, the Black Americans, the Black Africans. Like we all need to come together. Like we're all one. We need to like unify because I just feel that these foreign individuals, countries, companies, institutions, they're just like dividing us and like taking away our our land, our family, our culture, our homes. And I don't know, you know, if, us coming together as a group will stop what's happening, but maybe it can like lessen what's happening if we like come together as like as a force, as a unit. Because it's like, I just feel that we're just so disconnected. And this is why like so many groups of people, they're able to come in and just take and take and take from us.
Coming together is truly the goal, but something that has been elusive for all of humanity on a global scale. I think what we can take from what Simone shared, and even from the story, is that you don't need to wait for anybody else to take the necessary steps to reconnect with your roots. And it's good to start somewhere for unity within your own community of people. I want to thank Simone for taking the time to talk to me. It was an easy flow. Again, her company is Parting the Roots, and you can follow her on Instagram at Parting the Roots. The story this conversation was based on is called The Wise Man of the Halawea. You can go to www.akoa.com to watch it now. Follow this podcast, Real Inspiration, anywhere you listen to your podcasts. That's it for now. Thank you for listening, and until next time.